All right, I'm
Hello.
starting the timer
Okay.
so we can see that. All right, we have something that we three just discussed that is coming. I'm going to read, I think, 4 items here. They're pretty small. Um, Before we get into a new thing that is very powerful. It hit me 4 days ago, and I've been writing about it ever
Mhm.
since. So, but before we get into that, I want to read these 4 things. The first one is living without your true power is the only way to build discernment and strength of character. The reliance on all your power instills a weakness in addressing the need for courage, decision making, and dealing with diversity and adversity. Living without your true powers, or the illusion of living without your true powers, helps hone your will and intent by introducing resistance, thereby removing most simple solutions. What stands up to the resistance will shine bright when your power returns.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is called Higher Self, You, and the Cat. Your relationship with your higher self is not unlike a person and their pet cat. Both are different creatures. Both believe they're in charge. Both approach the relationship from entirely different perspectives, yet each receives some benefit in the exchange. And the cat probably doesn't think about its master being there or not being there. The master is just there. If the master wasn't there at all, the cat would probably be out in the wild making do as best it could, probably not thinking of the master it once had.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Mhm.
all right, let me just mark that. All right. The third one is there is only so much pleasure to be gained in creating for oneself alone. Meeting people to impact them, and they you, is our way of co creating, which cascades as we meet more people. Even meeting the same people later on is new co creation, as these people and you are no longer the same people when earlier you met.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
It's like the can't cross the same river twice kind of thing. No
right.
one's the same.
No one's
Yeah.
ever the same.
Mhm.
Okay. And the last one is we're setting ourselves up for submissions, where we get a calling to go help troubleshoot an issue for someone or a group where their growth is impinged. This endeavor is worthy of your time and effort because you sense the downstream positive impacts that will cascade from your co-creative unraveling of the impingement. Also, your mutual growth notwithstanding. You submit to their needed request and they submit to your higher ability at the time.
Mhm.
Now, I wrote that one, and what I wrote down in parentheses is think church scene from my dreams.
Yeah.
They're this is from way back when um, I discussed, well, I think when we were doing videos with Sheila and Lisa, I discussed a dream that I had where I would bloop out and I would bloop in somewhere.
Mhm.
And this happened over many different scenarios. One scenario, I blooped in and I was walking along a city street. And just as I blooped in, a car pulled in.
Mhm.
And I knew that that car was there for me. So I walked over to the car window, and the car window went down, and I looked in, and it was a gentleman who looked like a cross between Muhammad Ali and, did I say Martin Luther King?
I think so.
I think it was Muhammad Ali, a cross between Martin Luther King and Martin Luther King.
Muhammad Ali. Yeah.
And he said, going my way, or something to that effect. I got in the car, and we just began just kind of chatting. And he was driving. Well, we drove to his church where he was the pastor. We both got out of the car, and it was a very, very large church. And we walked into the church. He proceeded to walk down the aisle. I got into one of the back rows by myself. He proceeded to down the aisle, passing all the congregation, and there were lots and lots of people there. It was mostly a black congregation, but not entirely. So he went straight to the raised dais and pulpit, and went up there, and he started talking. I wasn't focused on what he was saying. I knew what I was there for. I was there not to talk to anyone, but to turn on everyone's telepathy all at once. And in so doing, everyone's telepathy within that congregation turned on at the same time. And when that happened, all I could hear were gasps, startlement, shouts, anger, all kinds of things. People were realizing who cheated on who. Whose child really,
it was
who was the real father of the child. All these, who cheated on who was corrupt, who was undermining someone else. All these things came on the line all at once. And the pastor was able to quiet them down, and he began his sermon. And his sermon had already come to him. And he was in the flow. I could feel it. I got the tingles. He was in the flow, and he was speaking individually to each one of those people. And his message was getting across. And as he proceeded, and I knew he was going to be there for a long time in communicating and being empathetic to these people, I, at one point, got up and walked out of the congregation and blooped out and blooped back here, or blooped. That I talked about many
times,
of those that I was going to be doing. I did that in a governor's, a government, where the same thing occurred. I got picked up by a governor, I think it was, and taken to their
Senate kind of stuff.
Their Senate or whatnot, and turned on all their telepathy at the same time, and they all figured out who was cheating on who, and corruption, who was corrupt, who was bought by whom, and all that. So
and you had a community too.
And I did multiple communities. I did hospitals. I did corporations, all kinds. So
and that was related to what?
That was related to that one. Okay. So now that that's out of the way, we'll get on to the new stuff, which I've been writing on steadily for the last 4 days. The title for this is The Expanded World of Living. You can just tap on the screen.
Mhm.
Um, and we could, like I said, we could stop. I want to stop anytime
Mhm.
so this is a symbolic representation of our position from my perspective and not meant to be taken literally. Each one of us is endowed with inherent manifestation abilities that some have called magic. With these abilities, each of us can create our own existence with its own set of rules, or we can borrow from others. We are attracted to unique creations, and when we find it, we endeavor to play with it for as long as it holds our attention. This highlights a paramount aspect of us. Each of us has a high level existence called an HLE with the ability to establish one or more lower level experiencers, LLE, characters. To understand this at the highest level we possibly can, it will require that we each suspend disbelief and forego as many of the forged concepts that limit our expansion beyond this current existence, which is as an LLE, which is a lower level experiencer. Think of this as a movie or novel whereby I am building a new world in order to tell a story. This idea is free to you. Wait a minute, this idea is to free you of the constraints of this current world so that you can explore the concepts of a new world and possibly others. Whether or not you believe in this new world is up to you, but will you allow yourself to go on this journey of exploration and play with its concepts? This new world, or better yet, this blank canvas, begins with a collection of painters, all with roughly the same mastery of painting. Their only difference being the will to be creative in the moment. They have been at this so long that to create something so extraordinarily unique and exquisite, so as to utterly shock their contemporaries with wonder, is all but impossible. The possibility does exist, however slight. In the wait for divine inspiration, these artists with unlimited potential endeavor to collaborate among themselves, borrowing ideas and testing new techniques for all the glorious purpose of constantly creating new works of art that produce the highest level of inspiration and joy towards experiencing existence. This collection of artists are also known as High Level Existence Collective, or HLEC. Now, as you might imagine, these artists aren't creating static works of art, but true, livable, and believable works of wonder, or so each artist hopes. And begin seeing as these beings live outside of time, decay, cause, and effect, they have the capacity to explore these dynamic worlds of intrigue in any manner they choose. Under that impetus, some of these HLEs spawn lower level experiencers to birth their existence into these worlds so that HLEs may stay and continue to create new wondrous works of art, while containers holding a facsimile of their essence experience the living of that world. Each HLE maintains its ties to each of its LLEs so that each experience can be uploaded for inclusion into other works of art. And while these LLEs are not the HLEs that spawn them, they are as free from or as close to them as they choose to be, with the HLEs guiding their LLEs towards getting the most out of each personification and accompanying experience.
Mm. Yeah, the HLEs make, kind of make me think of what we've termed as the high self, and the LLEs being us, in this lower connection, so to speak.
Yep.
That's the way I think
That's
of
what that's what I was feeling too.
You might think so, and I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. What I will say is expand your thinking.
Mm.
LLEs span a huge spectrum.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
So LLEs are anything within a world. Anything you can think of, anything you can imagine.
Oh, like
Plus,
any, like rock, tree, anything.
anything.
Okay, not just humans. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we've talked about that.
but there are also LLEs, there are enhanced LLEs.
Mm-hmm.
So, one way to look at it might be HLE is your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to look at it is it's your upper higher self, with many degrees of your higher self among enhanced LLEs.
So like our high self up to source, kind of that range could be.
I don't know. That's a story that we've told ourselves about source.
Yeah.
If you want to embed that into this, by all means, go ahead. I'm building a new world.
You're saying it could be more expanded than that.
Because I don't know exactly where this is going. I have a sense of the paths that it's taking, but I'm saying, well, as I started with this, try to go beyond your current set of beliefs.
Yeah.
Try to suspend them while we,
that's true.
What I'm in right now is the world building part. And so this is a prelude. Consider this a prelude to the opus. I have to kind of define it before we can start diving into it and playing in it. So I don't know how long I'm going to be working on the prelude, because that's to dive into it without any kind of sense of it and direction is, I don't know. I'm not going to say that we couldn't do that, but this is the direction I've taken. So this is where I'm going with it. Okay. So, but keep those ideas coming, because I mean, I want feedback, or I want, hey, pause and let's think about this for a second. So the next section on this is called Worlds of Art. These masterpieces of worlds are as elaborate and intricate as one would expect. In truth, they're beyond expectations, for they must hold many lifetimes' worth of attention, convincing its inhabitants of its providence and worthiness of life. Each world of creation establishes its existence within nodes. Think of them as stars holding the framework to an Epcot Center's spherical representation of a solar system, galaxy, or universe. These nodes, created by the artist, set the physics or rules by which the inhabitants will live by. Like any rules, they can be modified, but only by the creator artist, typically in consultation with the HLEs who have LLEs residing within the world of art. Modification, however, is rarely necessary, as the node rules provide varying levels of power and varying levels of experience. For instance, an LLE may start out as a dog with the standard level of power for that intelligence level. At some point, the HLE for that LLE may bestow that dog with higher level of power or experience, whereby that dog elevates to a dog dolphin, dog horse, or even a dog man. with the appropriate elevation in power and or experience. While this is done infrequently, it does offer creative license to the HLEs and LLEs. Of special note, high-functioning LLEs, such as dolphins, whales, elephants, humans, etc., are more prone to elevation of abilities either through HLE grant or LLE self-activation. This next section is called Living the High Life, Down Low. Prior to birthing within a world of art, an HLE must set an intent for its LLE to be, specifically form, function, power, experience, and any aberrant characteristics with starting and ending points, which are known to the HLE. Imagine you planning to learn how to parachute with a starting point of no experience and an end point of being an accomplished parachutist with only experience to be gained in the doing. Since the LLE doesn't exist yet, it cannot program itself, and the HLE, with its infinite wisdom, is best suited to plan this experience of a lifetime. The HLE doesn't make the trip itself because it is needed to continue with its artwork, and most importantly, its infinite wisdom and capability would unravel any world of art if inserted at full potential. Therefore, the HLE creates a container that will hold the appropriate level of its capabilities for the endeavor to be experienced. There are, though, certain program subroutines that may be included to allow for internal expansion or other diverse situations worthy of exploration, which can be LLE activated if certain triggers are encountered. These are typically reserved for higher sentient LLEs who have closer makeup to their HLEs, and thus the HLEs welcome the potential that these particular offspring may, at any moment, strive to meet their maker. It is no coincidence that many movies and novels include this premise within their storylines. Birthing within a world of creation entails the passage of the LLE through a node so that rules, instructions, and conditional programming can be downloaded and so that active content can be brought online. This passage ensures conditions are set within the world to receive the LLE and that no alterations are required prior to the expectant birth. As the birth proceeds, the LLE will manifest its reality bubble as an infusion of its programmed instructions, the reality bubbles of other LLEs, namely its birth parents, and conditional programming associated with the conditions of its birth. Once birth is complete, reinforcement of the LLE's reality bubble will continue or commence through bubble-to-bubble interactions with other LLEs. Living for the LLE will now follow instructions, learning, bubble interactions, and choice, not necessarily in that order, with follow-up revisits to any of these options according to will, intent, proclivity, and choice. The HLE's intent is to provide each of their LLEs with as unique of an experience as to be worthy of the effort and as informative to the HLE as possible, as if the HLE was making the voyage itself. As an LLE, your time is their time, or more aptly, your effort is their attention, seeing as time only has meaning within worlds that create space for it. Okay, I'll stop there. Just in case anyone has any.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of information.
You might sense the
Yeah.
direction I'm headed here.
Yeah.
And I would say, by all means, allow yourself to go there, but keep in mind that this, although I wrote this, I don't believe I own this. I believe this came from a collective of LLE, advanced LLEs and or HLEs. I don't know, but this thing, as you hear me reading it, that's exactly the way I wrote it. I didn't.
That's
This is my draft.
Yeah.
So
that's
keep that in
exactly
mind.
how it came in, right?
Right. This is how it came in.
Yeah, and if you, I mean, it's just fascinating the clarity of it as it came.
Yeah.
Today, because it just flows, and I mean, it just ties right to the next. It is amazing. It's a lot in that very short thing that you read. There's so many layers of information and ways that you can look at that, and it's incredible.
Yep. All right, so let me go ahead and continue, and I'll stop at the major points and then see
how it's resonating.
See how we go.
Okay.
The next one is entitled "The Lowdown on Expanded Living." To fathom expanded living, one must first consider base living. So that's EL, expanded living, and BL, base living. Needs and wants. So it's one must first consider base living, needs, and wants. Base living encompasses needs, and typically those must be met before one gives thought to expanded living. However, there are exceptions. For example, dark night of the soul, D-knots. That's what I call them. D-N-O-T-S. Yeah.
I love it. They're going through D-knots. We can't talk to them right now.
Exactly. So you see what's happening here, right? So I'm hoping we start coming up with our own slang here. Okay. So that's dark night of the soul, D-knot activation. Standard needs of base living include water, food, shelter, and security, but may extend to health, sex, status, and stability, depending on learned needs. The majority of LLEs focus the entirety of their living in pursuit of base level needs with little to no effort on expanding their living, often through no fault of their own. Nevertheless, expanded living is not normally high in demand among LLEs. Venturing into expanded living often requires a combination of reducing base level needs and a meeting of these needs with surplus effort to spare. It isn't necessarily the meeting of base level needs that sparks expanded living, but the increased capacity to want it beyond the need to need. Obtaining a higher paying job that more than covers the cost of standard needs often leads one to need a higher status or places other stresses on their lives. Ultimately, it is the want for taking the responsibility of one's own internal growth, despite their lot in life, that initiates the will to expanded living. So why the push for expanded living? The simple, direct answer is to spark creativity and to experience wonder. Base living provides little to none of this, where living is relatively bland and as expected according to established rules, instructions, and the focus on base needs. To be perfectly honest, you, as an LLE subsisting at base living, are but a biological robot marching to the cadence of instinctual programming with scant traces of the wondrous experiences that await you in expanded living. Fortunately for all of us, expanded living is but a menu selection away after we tire of the gratuitous selections made for us. If base living is made up of the left and right turns of following pre-planned GPS directions along static, lined, uninspired roads, then choosing to alter your course and arriving at a sun-drenched, whisper-salted, mind-expanded vista of the shore is the welcoming siren's call of expanded living. Our HLE provided no concrete instructions for reaching these fabled vistas, for to do so would amount to programming you with happiness. Instead, they gifted us with its idea and a will to search the only place you could find yours, within you. So that's the end of that section.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about base level needs and robots and things like that, you know, there are so many of us that are just,
why do we all
don't dream, we don't have the
why do we all
happiness.
Wear roughly the same sizes, the same type of clothes? I mean, yeah, there's some ambiguity here and there, but roughly it's all the same education. We all get funneled into the same strainer.
Down on the Maslow's hierarchy, the bottom level of security and food and water. And
the great thing is we haven't even begun to explore expanded living.
Nope.
Oh, you wait. Oh.
And if we can find what happiness we can find in the base level needs, I think what we can find with the expanded.
Yeah. So, all right. The next section is called Higher Ideas on Expanded Living. Absolutely no one can or should give you detailed specifics on your expanded living. That would be akin to providing you house plans to a house that you were to create yourself. Essentially, you'd be building their house. What we as LLEs can do for each other is share ideas, concepts, and examples towards providing color and clarity of our own inward visions and feelings to living an expanded life. Fleshing out your expanded living will go beyond programmed head logic reasoning and will center around your heart's wants. This is fantasy for the sake of not only why not, but let me feel where it can take me. It's a dollhouse version of the mansion your HLE pours forth in endeavoring to create a magnificent world of art. All the awe-inspiring ingredients you'll ever want reside within the canvas of your heart. So, ready? You may begin.
Unlock that heart.
Okay.
Let it flow.
So that's the prelude of the prelude.
Oh, look what she has. She's a heart crystal.
Oh, that's awesome. Excellent. Okay.
Perfect.
Concept one. No one can give you details. We're not going to talk details. What we're going to do is we're going to talk concepts and ideas and examples. So, concept one. Your body is not you. You are the pilot. Your body is the ship. Until you are ready to navigate on your own and confident you can control your craft, your ship flies on autopilot, utilizing your senses and feelings as gauges to make adjustments to your course. An interesting point on this is that many LLEs have barely begun to adjust their seating, acquaint themselves to their controls, or figure out where they are taking their magnificent marvel of a biological starship. This supreme achievement in advanced biological technology, which you simply call your body, houses all programming instructions, data capturing devices, and self-healing capabilities to take you anywhere your heart wills, provided you can break out of simulation mode and enter into manual free flight operation. Not only that, your advanced spacecraft sports the latest and greatest in morphing technology or body manipulation, which will be covered under the manifestation section.
I swear, when it comes through, it's like you've had a whole manual downloaded.
It's like I
Yeah.
read the book somewhere else. It was written somewhere else.
Yeah.
I read it and remembered it, and now I'm regurgitating it.
Yeah. Because just the organization of it is just fascinating.
Yeah.
Like listening to something on Audible. I mean, it's like it's good stuff. It flows so well, and it resonates very well with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It resonates with me too. I like it because it's easy to read. So it flows.
It does flow. It's very good.
All right. Concept 2 is you are not your body. Remember, the first one is your body is not you. This concept 2 is you are not your body. As previously mentioned, you are the pilot. You are the seed of an HLE implanted in this fertile world of creation, awaiting the moment your shell is cracked open to the light of your will to grow, blossom, and then spread your own seeds of will and creation. This is beyond biological needs of procreation, where the same fields are plowed, replanted, and harvested, but instead is a cultivation of creation itself, whereby whole new landscapes are but the seeds of your will. Your HLE intends your awakening into you as a farmer of farmers. Under that pretense, you have out of this world tools at your disposal, primarily imagination, manifestation, and creation capabilities.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Concept 3, imagination is the key to unlocking your intent. Suppression of imagination is the equivalent of standing in an amusement park in total darkness, not knowing you're only in the visitor center. You bumble around, feeling your way until you establish some sense of the objects around you, and then work out some patterns that you can live with, thinking maybe you've accomplished something. Despite inhabiting a world of fun, wonder, and joy, your experience is limited to darkness, bare necessities, and repeated trips to the visitor center's gift shop for the concessions equivalent of a candy bar. As you trudge on with your daily rituals, boredom nudges you to venture into a hidden storeroom where you happen onto a recessed nook that contains a tubular object of unlimited potential, a flashlight. This simple device lights up your tiny bubble of containment and begins to enlighten you to not only your seclusion, but to avenues of your escape. Acting as your instrument of imagination, this flashlight will provide you with vision, direction, and insight into the wonders of your park. Imagination is and always will be the starting block for any new venture in your life. To explore and experience anything new to you, imagining you doing that must open that door first. Imagination is you giving yourself permission to explore. It is also the building blocks of manifestation and creation, and is the pathway out of base living into expanded living. There are many levels to imagination based on permission, freedom from suppression, confidence, and experience in conjuring, with all of these subject to your will and intent.
Mhm.
If you can't imagine it, if you can't see
Mhm.
yourself doing it, you're probably not going to do it. You're probably not going to experience that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's where imagination comes in.
Yeah.
Well, that's like there was something. Some people don't have that ability. Like there was something that was shared. There was a discussion going on social media where people were very surprised that some people just don't have the ability to like visualize things in their mind or even have a dialogue. So I wonder if those people are like stand-ins or what's up with that.
Not yet.
They don't have the ability yet.
They haven't been activated for that ability.
So their LLE is still in that.
Remember, there are
Yeah.
varying levels of LLEs.
Mhm.
Okay, varying.
Mhm.
And I mean, think of a rock.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
think of a rock. A rock doesn't do much,
Mhm.
but it is living.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, the cells, everything's energy. So
It
the
just-
cells in it are moving and living.
We
It's just-
are operating at a higher speed than a rock is.
Mhm. Yeah,
So-
because the programming of the cells in that rock have programmed it to be solid and
Right.
stationary. Yeah, as
Yeah.
much as possible.
But don't get cocky, because some of those rocks might band together and avalanche you.
Yeah. Well, even
That's
in the
right,
Bible
yeah.
talks about when the rocks cry
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right. Concept 4, manifesting of will and intent. It is unknowingly known that each of us is and has been manifesting since entering this world.
Mhm.
You cannot not manifest. So, what have we been manifesting? Look around you. Everything you see, hear, taste, or otherwise sense is your manifestation. How is that, you ask? Well, if you reside at base living, your manifestation is on autopilot, following standard programming, with few exceptions for low levels of imagination and choice. If there were people around you that were fully immersed in expanded living, you'd know it. They'd be doing and experiencing things you couldn't imagine because you haven't unlocked your imagination yet.
Mhm.
Actually, there are some in expanded living, and probably right in front of us, only we cannot see some of the things they do because our limited imagination won't allow us to believe we saw what we saw.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Our eyes may have seen the unbelievable act, sent the signals to our minds, which tried to process it, only to fail the test of belief, which prevented our minds of forming a memory of the act.
Mhm.
If you have no memory of something, did it occur as far as you are concerned?
Mhm.
Right.
To begin to see and remember these events, we first must loosen our hold on our beliefs and then open our mind's eye to the heart of our imagination, which will shine its light on the world of amazing rides and unbelievable sights. Unlocking the imagination is the first step in exiting simulation mode, turning off the autopilot, and entering the free flight flow of expanded living, where you, as an expanded LLE, can take the controls of your manifestation and creative abilities. So, what is manifestation? Well, it depends on you and your imagination. Any answers given here are only my version of it and amount to my house plans.
Mhm.
What I will provide are only my concepts of it. To me, manifestation comes in stages according to one's level of imagination. Level 1 is the default setting for minimal imagination, taking in standard inputs of the senses, feelings, and needs, and then applying will, intent, and choice with little to no imagination to access an instruction that is believable and doable, and finally to update the graphics on your view screen.
Mhm.
Level 2 is an upgrade from level 1 with additional access to imagination, albeit below expanded level living, whereby a slightly elevated set of options are made available to one's will to choose from. Some examples include winning a lottery, getting promoted, an investment paying off, finding that missing ring, fame, meeting someone or group who completely change your way of life, missing a train, getting hurt, crashing your car, losing money, or being born blind, deaf, autistic, or as a prodigy. Although these last few may also be enhanced instruction sets from the HLE, which one would still have to manifest through their will and intent.
Mhm.
This level has many options, with the distinction that level 2 still resides within base living.
Mhm.
Level 3 penetrates the barrier between base living and expanded living through a combination of expanded abilities coming online, with the imagination being the primary spark. In fact, this level helps define expanded living. Someone with not only an active imagination, but the will, intent, and confidence to exploit its use, will wield level 3 manifestation and typically be within expanded living. What that looks and feels like is, again, in the eyes, mind, and heart of the beholder. But I can speculate with my houseplants. Hey, get your own. Imagine, smiley face, feeling like the luckiest person on the planet because most things abide your will and intent. You're surrounded by people and things that you truly want there. You are living the unbelievable dream life, which doesn't necessarily mean wealth as described by base living standards, which brings up the most compelling aspect of expanded living. It's not about things, it's about being an untethered version of you inside and out.
Mm,
That's it.
that's good. Untethered version.
Hmm.
Reminds me of untethered soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
You tired of my voice yet?
No, I feel a buzz in my body.
I got to tell you, I have been buzzing right here where my crystals
Yeah.
are since I started reading.
Yeah, I've been, my head's, but my ears are buzzing, and yeah.
Yeah, I've had like when we first started, it's been like pulsating throughout here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can feel it. Just my whole head's buzzing.
I feel like my I say stomach, but like it has like two major layers, and it's one layer just keeps going like this.
Mhm.
It's buzzing so much it just feels like it's like rolling over top. It's not normally like rolling stomach when you get sick.
Right.
It just feels
It's
like
the
it's
energy,
yeah.
like the tornado field you can feel or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I can feel it. Like I can feel it in my emotion. Like normally when I feel energy, it comes up and out in tears, and that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was good.
So speak,
Yeah.
say anything, whatever's kind of nudging you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. To say, I feel like it ties together a lot of the things. Like I can see it weaving together a lot of the things that we've touched on, or you've touched on with some of your poems and things like that. It's kind of
Mhm.
the imagination and creation and manifestation, and the clearing that channel of connection, and it puts it together in a very a very coordinated way without it being coordinated and without you sitting structuring it. You didn't have an outline. You didn't have, but it flows real well together, like it's being painted, a picture that's being painted.
And think about it.
Feels like
I'm only painting the instructions to the game before we even start. We haven't even started playing the game yet.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keeping it as a complete blank slate, like a complete blank canvas, and not applying it to anything I've ever thought of before. Just completely like new, and I just think it's flowing beautiful, and it definitely feels right to me. It feels good to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's almost like when you get into a really good book and you want to go, it's like, I didn't want you to stop. That's what it felt like when you ended. It was like, what?
Well, I've only had 4 days to write it, and I had to, there were plenty of times where I stopped and go, okay, is this going to continue? And so, yes, I've had 4 days to write. That's 4 days worth. But now I feel like I'm kind of flowing into the gratitude and the grandness of this, and I feel like it's really going to start flowing. I wish I could write faster. I'm seriously, I am only limited by how fast I can write, because as soon as even before I'm even finished with a sentence, I've already got the next one.
Yeah, it's coming in faster than
I can write
it. Yeah, I can feel that. Well, it was interesting because the first night that you had the first page of it or whatever that you read to me, the feeling I had was, wow, this is going to go on for a while, because sometimes you get that wave and you think, okay, how's it going to be the next day, and are you going to be in the flow the next day of it and stuff like that. And for me, it felt like, no, it's going to be that way for some time, because I could feel that the size of it.
It's going to keep coming till it all comes out.
Yes.
And hence, Jenny, why I mentioned prior to we started the video about when I entered that feeling. I've had this feeling before, but that was still a base level need that feeling came in.
A lower level LLE.
Yeah. I applied it, and I was in it for 6 or 7 months. And when this started, I got that feeling again.
Well, and it goes back a little bit to what you were saying earlier today to me, was it's like when you're doing something and you feel like, okay, when you're finished with it, you feel a little bit tired or something like that. And this is that ever filling cup of energy with it, I guess is a way to say it. Because you said to me before we started, you said, like, I work on it and then I finish and I'm still at the same level of energy I did when I started. The cup doesn't deplete.
You want to talk about cup running over? Yeah. I know what that means now. From the Bible, the cup your cup runneth over. Because I was telling her before we actually started that in writing previous list, that as I'm writing it, because I tap into the three of us when I go to my council, and I'm starting, and as I get down, I can see my cup kind of starting to get emptied out. But it's our cup. It's not my cup. It's our cup that I created by what I expected for a video that the three of us would do. The nice thing about now is that cup is huge. It's not just for the three of us. We are the focal points. But when I sat with my council this time, it wasn't just the three of us. Yeah, the three of us were there and very, very prominent. But what was also there was the whole sphere of the earth and every being on it. And as I wrote, periodically I would check in with my cup, and it hadn't even gone down. And just no matter how far along I was, it hadn't even gone down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it gives me a sense of that I could be out doing something and someone says, "Hey, you gotta do this, or you should do this," or that. It's like, okay, I get to go back and write some more. So it's just, no matter what, it's kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
I got this to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
It almost it's elevating. It elevates me to, even if were something bad, if I were to manifest something bad to me, I would still probably shake it off and just go, okay.
I'll go sit there. Well, it goes back to the going inside for your happiness piece. It's like when you have that, anything happens out here, you always can go back and tap into that piece within you, because nobody can take that away from you.
That's right.
Yeah. It's there with you always, everywhere, all the
And
time.
honestly, even the bad is really just, it's not bad. It's just there.
Yeah. Well, that's coming, but yeah, bad is just good flapped another way and spun in order to put your mindset in a different framework. Because there's nothing here in this world of art that is bad. Bad is just a classification. Typically it's something you say you don't want.
Well, and a lot of times just time will tell the difference. Like, it may seem like bad because it's right in this moment, but it could spawn something great if you look at it a year from now. It could look like a beauty, but in the moment, it's that closeness versus distance that oftentimes shapes it. Goes back to what you're talking about.
And just to hit on that, time is one of the instructions that we pull off a node. We come to a node. Time is one of the things we pull off the node.
Yeah, that's part of our requirements or programming in this world.
It was the set of parameters that went into defining this world. But as you and I talked, I haven't got on this yet, but I kind of told her our situation is a little bit different than all previous ones. And this was one of the main reasons why it makes it so attractive to why beings want to come here. They want to be in this matrix that we're in. And that is the artist that created the world that we reside in, created the nodes, and then the world was created. Then within that world, there were beings that elevated themselves to a level where they could create a world within this world. And that's what we are residing in, a world within a world. I didn't hit on that, but that's what this living on this planet is, a world within a world.
Yeah. Because
once we break out of this world, we're going to be into the world outside, the outer world. We're going to be in the outer world, and thereby we're going to go, wow, this is awesome. And yet that's what we should have been in all along. But this was very creative thing to do, and was allowed to happen, whereby a world was created within a world.
And then we all signed up to try it.
Yeah, exactly. No one made you come here. You actually signed up for it.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, what? You created a world within a world? Oh my God, yes, I got it. Because it's kind of like some of those politicians. You can't know the contents of the bill until you pass the bill. You can't know the contents of this world until you agree to come into it.
You'll love it. You'll love it. It'll be great.
And then unfortunately your memory gets wiped, and
that's the only way you can experience it.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I'm interested to see what comes next week. I don't want to have expectations, but I want to stay in gratitude as this continues to occur. I'm in gratitude for what I've already received, but I want to be in gratitude for what's about to become without expecting it.
It's been a magical week.
Yep.
There was 3 cardinals in my yard yesterday, and then just symphonies of birds doing different dances around my, just like, it looks choreographed. It's so pretty.
Yeah, we love the birds.
We've got our bird feeders out right. I mean, I have them hanging off the eaves, and so our back window is kind of like if this is our back window, the eaves hangs down past it, and
bird feeders are like right
probably
here.
yeah, and they hang right down there, and I've got them now so that the squirrels can't get there.
Shoot.
And
our work phone's ringing. I don't know where it is.
So they hang. We've got 2 hummingbird feeders, and we've got 3 regular bird feeders. I mean, and we get titmice and chickadees and cardinals and
woodpeckers,
all kind of bluebirds and blue jays. Yeah,
and a ton of different finches,
Carolina wrens, yellow finches, purple finches,
doves,
all the regular finches,
orioles.
Yeah, orioles.
Sounds so pretty.
It is. There's so many of them out there.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. And it's interesting. I was telling him the other day, I usually can tell when he wakes up because all the birds come around and start, like, I'll see birds coming in and all this stuff, and I'll look up there and I'll be like, okay, Tim must be getting up because
I asked her about that. I said, are you being facetious?
No, it's true. It's the truth.
So am I manifesting that?
That's interesting. Or they might be noticing your energy. They're just like, oh, that energy's awake.
That's what I think. Yeah, and sometimes they'll be out there squawking at him,
Wake me up
outside the window.
Right, because we open our window in our bedroom, and they come bushes right outside the window, and the last 2 days I've had a blue jay just squawking at me, and I'm like, all right, I'll get up.
You got writing to do. Get up.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Life
so
is fun.
we understand that. We actually put a squirrel feeder out on the tree out there, and then
they are hilarious.
They are hilarious. It is amazing the gymnastics that they'll do.
For a little tiny seed.
For a little tiny seed.
So funny. And we should videotape our backyard.
That sounds really fascinating.
A little wonderland out there.
We've got one. It's a bird feeder that I strung between, wire between 2 trees. And from that is another wire that suspends this bird feeder.
Plastic bird feeder, yeah.
It's plastic.
Small.
And
it's probably about this
I've got it in such a way
that size.
that no matter how the the wind blows it or whatever, it'll stay there. And the squirrels, now it's at least 4 or 5 feet from the closest trees. The squirrels will run and dive for it, often missing it, and it's probably
It'll
elevated.
swing.
It's probably elevated.
Does it spill any of the seeds out?
Little
Are they
bit.
knocking the seeds?
The openings are really small,
Yeah.
so it doesn't spill that much. But it's probably elevated at least 5 feet.
Oh, at least.
At least 5 feet off the ground. So they really have to elevate themselves, get them, and then sometimes, like I said, they miss it. They just fly off of it. But occasionally, there's one that we found gets it and latches on. He has to hang upside down in order to feed. So he does. He'll hang upside down because there's nothing for it to hold on to. He has to do sit-ups
He does like crunches. He gets
to
bite
get
and then
one sunflower seed.
We just have the funniest time with this. Yeah.
So it's hilarious. The squirrel feeder has a big old door on it. Now they could lift it up if they could figure it out. All they have to do is lift it up and they can get in there. But the door will then kind of hang on them. They haven't got that. But the raccoons have figured it out.
Yeah.
The raccoons have figured it out. But what the squirrels do is they go underneath it, and there are these tiny, tiny holes.
They're drain holes for water.
They're drain holes for water. But they have figured out how to pull one seed out at a time. And they will do it.
They'll sit there for hours like.
Now, this thing is so big that they would never empty it out. But at night,
the raccoon
we hear the door slamming, and that's the raccoon emptying it out. Now, when it gets empty, it's never really, really, really empty. So the squirrel comes there, and when it can't get a seed, it takes its head and bangs it against the bottom to make seed come to the hole.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty smart.
Just a single, like if this is it, it'll take its head and go boom, and so it'll move it. Sometimes that isn't enough, and it'll do boom boom. And sometimes it'll do 3 or 4 hits with its head, with the top of its head, in order to get seed to come out the hole.
We have to go fill out the feeder before the squirrels get concussions.
No. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about creating squirrel-sized helmets.
Oh my gosh, it is so funny.
I could watch that all day long.
We're gonna have,
it's better than TV.
We're gonna have a team of brain damaged squirrels.
No wonder they don't know how to open up this thing. They're all brain damaged.
They don't know how to lift open.
They'll do all kinds of shenanigans, but not lift.
Yeah, there's no lock. It's easy to lift it up. In fact, they've nudged it before, but it just went up that far. They would actually have to. They would actually have to use their body just to push up on that lip, and then
they need some teamwork.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's kind of what it's for.
It's fun. Well, we were thinking of another funny animal thing about. We were talking about our funny animal experiences, and I can't remember what that other one was. We said we hadn't told Jenny.
Well, we talked about the raccoons.
Yeah, and the rat and the squirrel.
The rat and the squirrel.
There was another one.
We talked about the snake.
Yeah, the snake we talked about. That was one we talked about last week. We said, "Oh, we haven't talked about that with Jenny."
Oh, the titmouse that got stuck.
Oh yeah.
In the loop of the string that holds up. We also within our bird feeders, we have this holds more than a gallon of water. It's a dome. It looks like this, and then it comes down to a base, and it screws into this base that's probably about this big, and it has 4 of these pockets
bird baths
that are about this big that are little bird baths, and the water just drains into them, and they come in there and drink the water or take bird baths. But it twirls. It's hanging by on fishing line. It's it's a braided fishing line, so it's been up there for quite a while. Well, when we first started using it, and there's a little loop where it attaches to the top of the water bath. And when we first started using it, one day a titmouse, because they like to get on top of them sometime and they tease each other and whatnot. One day, titmouse got up there and somehow got its head stuck through the loop.
Oh no!
We were like, Oh
Uh,
boy.
So she looked at me, and I was looking at her, and boom! All of a sudden, I knew exactly what to do. I came into my office. I got my 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 compass ruler,
Mhm.
and that is made out of metal. It's about about a foot long and about half-inch wide, but it's made out of metal. I went out there, and as I got close, the bird started chirping, and I said, "It's okay." I didn't say it like weak. I said, "It's okay," and it got quiet, and it let me get up there, insert the ruler, turn it sideways. The loop got bigger because if you think of it,
Yes.
I stuck it in here and I
Yeah.
pried it open, and the bird pulled its head out and flew away.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd never seen such a thing. But it didn't flop around or get panicky. He went right with it, and it just sat there. It was
It
like
just
it
sat there
heard him
while
and
I
just
did
like,
it.
okay, okay. So we have funny animal.
A little rescue.
But it is very magical. We were talking about how how you can see the animal reaction to you and to your energies and
Yeah, when we first started when we would go out there to top off all the bird feeders, all the birds would fly to the nearby
they
trees
would take
and
off.
and take off.
Mhm.
Eventually, they would, when we would go out there, they would just fly to the nearby trees and wait for us to finish filling them up, and then they would fly back.
Mhm.
Now they don't even wait for us to finish.
They
As
just
soon as we
stay.
put up the first filled bird feeder, they jump right
They're
on it
right back
while we're
there.
out there filling up the other ones.
Mhm. Yeah, and in fact, if we're taking too long, they start squawking at us. It's like, hurry up.
Yep.
So, anyway, life is fun. Life is
Yeah.
fun, and and just think about this when you're talking about the BLE, the basic life
Don't say
level.
BS. Okay? Don't
I
say-
didn't say BS. BL. Oh yeah,
Yeah, base
that
level.
base level life. I
Base
mean,
living.
base living. So the base living that we've been at, we're still enjoying it and seeing this
Yeah, you can
magic.
still enjoy base
Think
living.
about what it's going to be when we get beyond that to the expanded
Mhm.
living.
Yeah.
It's just
In no way do I mean that base living can't be fun.
no.
You can still enjoy, you can still explore, you can still go have fun. But we're doing it from base living,
Mm-hmm.
meaning because base living it's inside you.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mhm.
how much you're opened. And a lot of it, and like I said when reading it, your imagination is the
Mhm.
start of it.
Yeah.
We've got to bring our imagination online.
Yeah.
And we do that by beginning to squelch our belief, because our belief in things locks us down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Nice. Fun times.
Good talk. That
Yeah,
was good.
absolutely. All right, are we complete for
I
the
think
night?
so.
Yeah, complete.
Mhm.
See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.